Hello friends, how are you doing? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kira. I do videos on faith and following Jesus, and it has been a hot second since I've been here, and I apologize. That's on me. We moved, and that's really exciting. It always takes a lot of time, but I think part of it is just the Lord was highlighting to me as I was sitting here in our living room playing with my son before his nap of like how easy it is to waste time on things that don't matter. And how we think we don't have time for the calling that God's given us, but in reality it's because of lack of stewardship on our behalf. And like, I'm calling myself on that firstly because I struggle with that. I'm sitting here realizing this. I take a social media Sabbath one day a week, and for me today that was it. And it was so hard to just like sit and not be on my phone, which is such a like good thing to implement, but my goodness, I realized how bad my habit is. And I was like, well, I'll just like turn on the TV. And I was like, that's not it either. And so as I'm sitting here and my son's playing on the floor, I just have a moment where I get to like be present as a mom and also just commune with the Lord. And that's kind of when I felt it laid on my spirit of like, we unnecessarily fill our lives with things that it just kind of detract from what God's called us to do and who he's called us to be. And you know, they might not necessarily be bad shows to watch or, you know, bad things to look at on social media, but they take time, they take creativity, and they take us away from the things that the Lord has given us. And I think one thing that's been highlighted to me by God in this season is just this stewardship aspect of when God calls us to something, he's going to equip us. He can equip us supernaturally in ways that go far beyond ourselves because we are not able to. But then there's also the responsibility of the things that we can control, and honoring God with those variables. So for example, time. You know, how am I spending my time and feeling like, well, I don't have time to post. I don't have time to film a video. It's like, well, why is that? Is that because I'm spending 45 minutes on the Discover page on Instagram where that's not like even connecting with anyone? That's just like looking at random posts that are generated for me. You know, is it that I feel like I'm not creative because I'm constantly ingesting information and I'm not giving myself space to just like breathe? And with that, it made me really sit down and realize that we need to be good stewards of our time, of the things that take up a priority in our life, and just really be mindful. I think number one, and two, just like sit down with the Lord and be like, okay, you know, if God's calling me to something that takes extra time, where am I going to pull that time from? And it's not that I don't have that time to give, it's that that time is being given somewhere else, because God knows that I'm human, that I have 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. That's all the time I've been given, and it's going to work. But I have to really prioritize what the Lord's called me to, and in doing so I might have to cut other things out or limit them in order to make that happen. But I think it's like, are we willing to make the sacrifice? Are we willing to be uncomfortable? Are we willing to step out of our comfort zone, out of, you know, just vegging on the couch as soon as we get home from work for the rest of the night? Are we willing to dedicate some of that time to doing the things that God has called us to do, to building the kingdom of God? And I think it really shows where our priorities lie, because I know there are busy seasons in life. I'm a wife and a mom, and I'm working full time, so like I get that. I'm not speaking to this as if I don't know, and I'm being honest. Like, this is something I struggle with, but it's also something that I feel like the Lord's empowered me in, and like, Kira, like, you do have the time, I will give you the energy, but like, there are some things that you just need to strip away because they are not bringing you closer to me. They're not adding value to your life. And if I think about like my list of priorities, like God being number one, I'm married, so my husband, I have a son, so, you know, my family, and then ministry, it's like, okay, if I'm going to pour into those buckets in that priority list, then I have to let go of some other priorities that just feel good in the moment but don't really serve me. So things like scrolling on social media just mindlessly, or I think that's the biggest one for me. And when I look at my phone and it will like break down the time spent on everything, I know that's it. And I know 45 minutes or an hour can go by. I know it's very easy for me to hop on YouTube and just like watch one video and then another's recommended. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I think about, I'm like, why am I even watching this? And it's not bad. It's just taking time from the things God has called me to do. And so I just encourage you that wherever you find yourself, that, you know, if it's something specifically the Lord has called you to do, like for me, run a ministry, or for you, even if it's just like, hey, I'm married, I need to make time for my spouse, or I need to make time for my kids, or I need to make time for my friendships, whatever that looks like, or you're like, I need to spend time with God, you know, whatever that is, sit down with the Lord and say, Lord, how can I honor you in my time? How can I honor you in stewarding what you've given me well? Because the Lord is so kind to give us so many blessings of friendships and marriages and children and doing things with him. And we want to honor him with that. And we don't want to let those go by the wayside because we don't put them in the right priority list. And so I just encourage you with that to sit down with God and really go over, you know, what you're called to, what your priorities are, and then how you can keep those things priorities, how you can dedicate your time to making those priorities happen, how you can dedicate your resources to making those happen. Because even taking a step back to be like, okay, God, like, show me, has been so beneficial and changed my heart and my mindset, and just how I do life, which has impacted my marriage and my family in such positive ways, and my relationship with God, where, you know, yeah, it's uncomfortable to wake up early to spend time with the Lord. Yeah, it's uncomfortable to, you know, always set my phone down and aside to be fully present. But that's what pays off in the end. And I'm so grateful for that. So I pray this is an encouragement to you, and like from me to you, that I'm learning and growing and walking with you in this. And if you have any prayers and you're like, I'm in this with you, I need help, like, I would love to pray for you. Or if you have any questions. But have an amazing week. I love each of you, and I will see you next time.